Welcome, Central Indiana sports fans, and welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report for my new podcast, Greg and his Friends Talk Sports. I'm your host, Greg Mingel, and every weekday afternoon, my friends and I are talking about whatever Central Indiana sports fans are talking about, whether it's the Pacers, Colts, IU, Purdue, Fever, IndyCar, local colleges, national sports, or high school sports. My friends and I are talking about it here on the Central Indiana Sports Report every weekday afternoon. Coming up today, Friday, March 27, 2026, your Purdue Boilermakers are headed back to the Elite Eight, and I spoke with my friend and our Purdue guy, Jake Dunn, about it. Major League Baseball had its opening day, and we have some results. And we will look ahead to the weekend, including a preview of the high school boys basketball state finals on Saturday, and also some local high school basketball news with Grant Shouse and Michelle Garmon. Real quick, here's what's been going on at the Central Indiana Sports Report. We've had a busy last few days with our reports. We had a Fever report with John Robertson and Michelle Garmon, an IndyCar report with Elijah Poe, plus Grant and Michelle previewed the high school boys state finals. It was released this morning with special guest Travis Doherty, former Tipton and Mount Vernon head coach. Thank you so much for joining us, my friends, and I will be back on Monday to recap the weekend. Kaufman-Renn's tip in at the buzzer lifted Purdue to one of its most dramatic NCAA Tournament wins in history. The Boilermakers will now face top seed Arizona Saturday at 8:49 p.m. with their second trip to the Final Four in the last 3 years on the line. It would also be their second trip to a Final Four that was played in Indianapolis. They played their Final Four in Indy in 1980. Let's hear from my friend Jake Dunn about the win and facing Arizona with a trip to the Final Four on the line on Saturday.
Well, Jake, I was thinking about it last night, and I think that might be the second most dramatic Purdue win of our lifetime, at least in the NCAA tournament, and maybe the third best of all time if you include the Rick Mount last-second shot against Marquette in '69. So, what a night.
Yeah, what a night. I was certainly on the edge of my seat. I honestly didn't think Purdue was going to pull it out. We've seen in times past that Purdue's lost games like that. But Kaufman-Renn tips it in with 0.7 seconds left to deliver Purdue a 79-77 win.
And really here the last couple of weeks, they've been really clutch.
Yes, they have. This tip in, and I think a theme that we've seen here over the past 7 games, because that's the winning streak for their own 7 games. You've really seen, kind of the team really embody the mantra of it's not the first shot, it's the second shot. It's you're prioritizing the offensive rebounding, and it was drawn to perfection. Braden Smith gets downhill, puts it on the rim, and Purdue plays with their strong suit, getting rebounds on the offensive glass. I've seen people that are we're calling for pushing the back on TKR on the putback, but
Jake, real fast, let me tell you, I was listening to the game because I couldn't watch it. That's how nervous I was. And PJ Carlesimo was actively rooting against Purdue, and he was like, over the back, as it happened. I watched the replay. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
I didn't think there was really enough there to call anything.
He used his off arm a tiny bit, but that's all.
Yeah, and but Purdue wins a game that in this game there were 16 lead changes and 10 ties. So that this win makes the senior trio of Kaufman-Renn, Fletcher Loyer, and Braden Smith. They become the winningest class in program history with 117 wins. And they now have the most NCAA tournament wins by a Purdue class with 10. So it's been a nice kind of flip here of the narrative from the end of the regular season, where we were all kind of saying it was a pretty disappointing season. Now they've reached the third Elite Eight in 7 years and won another Big Ten tournament title. So you're going to have a really tough game against Arizona coming up on Saturday, but there's nobody else that I want leading this group here.
And we'll talk about Arizona here in just a second, Jake, but real fast, I want to talk about the offensive rebounding because the stats say it was 12-12. And it just didn't seem like that. Yes, Purdue gave up a lot of offensive rebounds. They kind of sucked Clough out on the perimeter a few times and left the middle open for some offensive rebounds. But the difference in this game, out question, was Trey Kaufman-Renn and Oscar Clough on the offensive boards. They had 4 each. I would have guessed, Jake, that they had 10 each.
I thought they did a really good job controlling the glass in this game. Trey Kaufman-Renn, his offensive performance was great. He had 20 points, 8 of 10 from the floor, including that game winner. He started off 7 for 7 from the field, so he was a really constant interior pressure, had elite positioning. And obviously, like we talked about, the rebounding was huge. That game-winning play, I think, really kind of highlights who he is as a player. Gives a ton of effort, is physical, but also has pretty good awareness for the most part. They took advantage of Texas's downsized kind of lineup weight, and that size advantage ended up winning the game. So Cam Heide fouled out with, I think it's like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. So that was pretty big and kind of forced Texas to go a little smaller. So I think that ended up winning them the game.
And really, Trey Kaufman-Renn has been amazing since the postseason began. But they don't win that game without Oscar Clough. His stats say 11 points and 6 rebounds. But man, was he huge down the stretch.
Yes, he was. So Trey Kaufman-Renn scored 20 points with 8 rebounds on 8 of 10 from shooting from the field, 4 of 4 from the free throw line as well. He's now scored at least 20 points in 4 of his last 6 NCAA tournament games, and is averaging 20.2 points and 9 rebounds during that span.
Wow.
So he's really kind of taken control of here in March. And to your point, Greg, Oscar Clough, the stats may not fully represent his effectiveness during this game. Same with Trey Kaufman, even though he did have a great stat line. Those two guys, they were really so invaluable for this team. We saw Daniel Jacobson, he got 2 minutes of playing time, and I was really nervous when Oscar Clough ended up fouling out that this game would go into overtime and Purdue would be a disadvantage there without Clough. So I'm sure we'll get into kind of some more stats here, but an off shooting night here for this team, definitely going to need that to kind of revert to the mean there in this game against Arizona coming up.
8:49 on Saturday, the late game. According to ESPN Analytics, Purdue has a 37% chance of winning this game. Jake, you watched Arizona last night. How you feel about that number?
The way they played last night, I think they certainly a very strong team. If we're going to play like that every night, then yeah, that number might be pretty accurate. But I've got a little more faith in this Purdue team than the ESPN Analytics do. I'd say probably about a 45% chance to win. I mean, Purdue definitely has a shot, but this Arizona team is just so good. So without the ball, without Fletcher Loyer here, this team was 12 from 3. Fletcher Loyer had 4 threes. They were yet added 18 points. It was really the only reliable perimeter option. Purdue still won this game because of 22 second chance points, because of that efficient interior scoring and that late game execution. This team has proved throughout the season, really, that they can win ugly now. And I think that suits this Arizona team. They're not necessarily the fastest, but they are really physical. They're going to play their style of basketball, and Purdue's kind of the same way. So I think, honestly, it may be, I think it would have been a tough game regardless of who Purdue would have faced, whether it be Arizona or Arkansas. But I think Purdue may be able to athletically, anyway, maybe a little better fit with Arizona than Arkansas. Arkansas has had some really good athletes, and I was kind of nervous that even if they would have beat Arizona, it still would have been a really tough game for Purdue. But yes. This team kind of plays better when they're underdogs, so I think this could kind of play a little bit into Purdue's hands here. One thing I want to just kind of highlight here is this team's poise. So Texas shot 11 of 25 from 3. They hit multiple pretty ridiculous contested shots But Purdue stayed composed. I think that talks, speaks to their 4 years together for this senior group and just the things that they've been through throughout their 10 years here at Purdue. They stayed composed despite the cold shooting performance outside of Fletcher Lawyer. They stayed composed through the physicality and the officiating chaos that was in this game, and they didn't unravel like we've seen kind of earlier in the season. So it's showed a lot of grit, showed a lot of key winning traits down the stretch. CJ Cox too. We can't not talk about him playing on a hyperextended knee. 10 points, 8 rebounds, hit 2 clutch free throws late, provided some early scoring when the offense kind of stalled a little bit. And he's just another example of Purdue's depth stepping up here in March.
Later Thursday, Arizona ran past Arkansas 109-88, shooting 64% from the floor and making 30 of 39 free throws in the win. You have the regional Friday on Saturday in the South in Houston. It'll be an all Big Ten battle as Ben Humrickhouse and the Illinois Fighting Illini upset the Houston Cougars 65-55, and Iowa pulled off its second upset of the tournament, coming from behind to beat Nebraska 77-71. Tonight it'll be East top seed Duke against St. John's at 7:10 on CBS. Midwest top seed Michigan against Alabama at 7:35 on TBS. Then it's UConn, Michigan State in the East in DC at 9:45 on CBS. And the night ends with Iowa State and Tennessee at 10:10 on TBS in the Midwest region in Chicago. By the way, an all Big Ten Final Four in Indianapolis is still in play. Rough opening day for our local teams, the Reds and the Cubs. On Wednesday, the Reds had just 4 hits, 3 of them from rookie Sal Stewart, one of those a double, in a 3-0 home loss to the Red Sox. Great outing, though, from Red starter Andrew Abbott, who threw 6 scoreless innings. Cubs starter Matthew Boyd gave up 6 earned runs in 3 2/3 innings, and the Nationals blitzed the Cubs 10-4 in Chicago. For the Cubs, Michael Busch was 3 for 4 with a double, and Pete Crow-Armstrong 2 for 5 with a couple of driven in the opener. Also in the National League Central, the Brewers won behind an 11 strikeout performance from Jacob Misiorowski, and the Cardinals beat the Rays 9-7 behind J.J. Weatherholt's first career home run. Also in the National League Central, the Pirates lost to the Mets in the first game of the day 11-7. In a 5-3 win over the Rangers, Phillies starter Christopher Sanchez became the first pitcher since 1900 to strike out at least 10 batters with no walks on opening day. And Tyler O'Neill extended his MLB record with a home run on his 6th consecutive opening day. Insane. The reigning champion Dodgers beat Arizona 8-2 behind 3 RBIs from Will Smith. IU football head coach Curt Cignetti warned that the 2026 IU team isn't going to be the same one as the 25 team, saying the turnover in the roster has forced the coaching staff to, quote-unquote, start over in his press conference on Thursday at the start of spring football practice. And he said he's had to reinforce his standards with the new star players in the program, saying wide receiver Nick Marsh, quote, learned what getting your ass ripped is all about after the first spring practice of the new season. Much more on the press conference on the IU Report with Grant Shouse, who's coming up to talk some high school basketball, and his partner Mike Hutzel first thing Tuesday morning. The Boom completed their first season in Noblesville with a 134-112 win over Cleveland at the Arena at Innovation Mile. The Boom finished the season 16-20, and were right in the playoff hunt until the Pacers' injuries and trades took away their best players. And here's what's coming up this weekend. Along with the NCAA Tournament, of course, Bennedict Mathurin returns to Indianapolis as an opponent for the first time as a Clipper on Friday night. We expect him to get a huge ovation from the crowd in Indianapolis. Oh, I forgot. He played for Arizona. Yeah, let's boo him. And the Pacers host the Heat at 5 o'clock on Sunday. Pacers head into the weekend with the league's worst record at 16-57, a game behind the Nets, a game and a half behind the Wizards, and 3 behind the Kings. That, of course, is the team we need to stay behind to get the best possible odds in the May 10th draft lottery. We'll have a Pacers report on Monday morning with Mike Rich to talk about all of it. And IndyCar heads to Alabama for round 4 of the 2026 season. First practice is at 2:35 Friday, qualifying at 1:35 on Saturday on FS1. The green flag is 1 o'clock on Sunday on Fox. Alex Below is the defending champion and the huge betting favorite heading into the weekend at even odds. Wow. Kyle Kirkwood is 4-1. Scott McLaughlin, who's won in Alabama a couple of times, is plus 450. Christian Lundgaard 7-1, and his Arrow McLaren teammate Pato O'Ward is 10-1. Strangely accurate odds. I don't trust Vegas. Elijah Poe and I will have a qualifying reaction podcast and race preview for you on Saturday evening. And Grant Shouse Michelle Garmon and I did a huge boys basketball state finals preview and made our predictions on a podcast we released early Friday morning. Please go check that out for the full preview. At 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, it'll be the Class A state championship between number 2 and 27-1 Bar Reeve against 25-3 and 4th ranked Triton. Then at 12:45 p.m. in Class 2A, it's number 3 Westview 27-1 against number 4 Park Heritage 26-4. Then at 6 o'clock in the evening session in Class 3A, it's number 3 Cathedral 24-5 against 22-7 and unranked New Haven. Every team in the finals is ranked in the top 4 in their class except for New Haven, who's not ranked at all. And the final high school boys basketball game of the year in Indiana is the biggest one, of course. At 8:15 in Class 4A, it's number 2 Crown Point 25-1 against number 4 Mount Vernon 27-3. Again, we did more than an hour on our boys basketball state finals preview that we released this morning, along with Michelle and Grant. We also had legendary Tipton and Mount Vernon head coach and former Alexandria basketball star Travis Doherty. And some more high school basketball news that was released on Thursday. Oak Hills boys and Pendleton Heights girls will play in the Hall of Fame Classic in Newcastle in December.
Just finished recording our boys basketball state finals preview extravaganza that we just released a couple of hours ago. Go check that out. But there's also some other high school basketball news here locally, Grant.
Yeah, it was announced on Thursday morning by the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame that Oak Hill will be participating in the Boys Hall of Fame Classic on Tuesday, December 22nd, 2026. So we're about 9 months early talking about this, which is all good. Oak Hill will be participating in the Hall of Fame Classic next year at Newcastle Fieldhouse. They will be playing in the first game of the day against Terre Haute North. The second game will be Homestead versus New Albany, which will be another really good matchup. New Albany, of course, has Noah Washington, who's got Division I aspirations. So would be cool if Oak Hill could match up with a team like New Albany and Terre Haute North. And they already play Homestead during the year, so just kind of have to see how that works out. But and also in the Girls Hall of Fame Classic, which will be the day before of local interest as well, is that Pendleton Heights will be playing McCutcheon in the girls tournament on December the 1st, which is a Monday, which is then followed by Franklin Central and Northridge as well. Again, the girls tournament's on the 21st of December, the boys tournament's on the 22nd of December later this year, and some really good competition. I think the Hall of Fame did a really good job at finding these 8 teams across boys and girls basketball for the most prestigious tournament in Indiana at Christmas time.
I think you're right, Grant, especially that girls with McCutcheon and Pendleton Heights. You're talking about 2 Miss Basketball candidates, and the Lily Graves from McCutcheon and Ada Hupford of Pendleton Heights. Different kind of players. Graves, I think, is more of a wing, and Hupford is more of a post. However, Hupford developed a nice 3-point shot this last year, so that should be a really great matchup in December.
And, of course, we will have a state finals recap right here with Grant Shouse on Monday morning show. And, of course, we'll be talking about Purdue and the NCAA Tournament as well, hopefully advancing to the Final Four. That's all coming up on Monday's show. Please join us. And just because I'm not doing this show again until Monday doesn't mean there won't be other podcasts, because there will be. We will have an IndyCar reaction on Saturday and a race preview at Alabama, Fever Report on Sunday, and a Pacers report first thing on Monday. And now I'm going to go spend my spring break with producer Susie. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back Monday. Please join us. In all seriousness, go check out that high school basketball preview. Grant had pretty much seen all the teams this year and had a lot of insight. We also made our predictions a lot of fun. My whole life I was waiting for Purdue to go to a Final Four, and now they have a chance to go to 2 in 3 years. Pretty crazy. Arizona's awfully good, though. They sure showed that last night. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.